of a popular flag utilized by the Americans in the Revolution of 1776. The words in the phrases, "an appeal to God" and "don't tread on me" both have 13 letters in them. Please notice the snake wrapped around the tree. I will explain its significance a little later. But there are other concealed Masonic symbols on this flag. The tree appears to be an evergreen, and the words "evergreen tree" have 13 letters as well. So it was not a coincidence that these phrases and this symbol were selected for this flag. Another series of hidden symbolism occurred in the selection of July the 4th, the founding date of this nation. Those words have 13 letters in them. But there is another more important concealed symbol in that date, which I will explain later. The year 1776 has a hidden symbolism as well. The last two numbers in the date, meaning the 7 and the 6, when added together, total 13. And as is being shown, this is no coincidence. It is a concealed symbol. The Founding Fathers waited precisely 13 years between the years 1776 to 1789 to form this nation's first government. George Washington, a very visible member of the Masons, had 12 other generals on his staff. 12 plus himself equals 13. A total of 13 people worked on the Great Seal of the United States. The Navy of the United States had a committee of 13 controlling all naval affairs, and the first fleet of ships had precisely 13 ships in it. The Confederate flag of the South, utilized during the latter stages of the American Civil War, had 13 stars in it. And if you presume that each star stood for an individual state, as it does in the American flag, there should have been only 11 stars in the Confederate flag, because there were only 11 states in the Confederacy. This flag was adopted as the flag of the Confederacy in 1863, about midway in the Civil War. There is no way that the 11 states were anticipating the addition of 2 more states to their cause, so that there would have been 1 star for each state. 11 states started the Civil War in the Confederacy, and 11 states finished it. So one can only wonder how much involvement the Masons had in the creation and continuation of the Civil War. For those who believe that the Masons do not involve themselves in wars and revolutions, this quote from page 330 of Albert Pike's book entitled Morals and Dogma should explain that they do. He wrote, "We," meaning the Masons, "we hatch no premature revolutions." Notice that he did not say that the Masons hatch no revolutions. He wrote that they hatch no premature revolutions. That means that they hatch revolutions when the time is ripe. And to show that this is a correct interpretation of Mr. Pike's comment, one has to only refer to page 24 of his book to read this. Masonry aided in bringing about the French Revolution of 1789. And to show the involvement of the Masons in foreign affairs, the 2 words United Nations have 13 letters as well. And here is a more contemporary use of the number 13 in America. This is a photograph of President Bill Clinton taken in the White House. The symbol in the approximate center of the photograph, shaped like a seashell on top of the bookcase, has 13 parts inside the overall design. This number 13 is concealed everywhere, including inside the White House itself. The Masons even concealed their symbols in the layout of the streets of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. George Washington, this nation's first president and a member of the Masons, hired a French Mason, Major Pierre Charles L'Enfant, an officer who had served with President Washington during the American Revolution to lay out the streets of the city. So the city was laid out by a member of the Masons. Now, to understand the hidden symbolism in the city streets, it becomes important to study the Masonic symbols known as the square and the compass. A square is a piece of metal cut so as to be in the form of a 90-degree right angle. The compass is, of course, a device that consists of two legs joined at the top used to draw circles. The letter G in the center stands for Gnosis and not God, as is claimed by some Masons. And Gnosis is Latin for knowledge, meaning spiritual knowledge about who the true God is. We shall examine that statement a little later. When combined in this way, they become the two symbols of the Masonic Lodge. Once the observer turns the square and the compass sideways, then compares them to the layout on the streets of Washington, D.C., the map will reveal its secrets because the city is laid out with many of the squares, angle lines, and circles consistent with the square and compass of the Masonic Lodge. This is a photocopy of a map of this nation's capital. The Capitol building is shown in red on the right. It appears as if the square and the compass has been laid out in the streets around and on top of the Capitol building itself, shown in the gray area to the right. It certainly appears that the Masons are attempting to conceal the fact that they consider the Capitol building to be under their control. And this is the photocopy of the original layout designed by Pierre Charles L'Enfant. You will notice numerous squares and compasses designed into the city. And to show you that the Masons created this nation, let me show you this drawing of George Washington laying the cornerstone of the Capitol building on September the 18th, 1793. Notice that nearly all of the other participants are wearing the Masonic jewelry and aprons, just like George Washington. So it appears as if Albert Pike was correct when he wrote in his book entitled Morals and Dogma, "The world will soon come to us," meaning the Masons, "for its sovereigns," apparently meaning its governmental leaders, and pontiffs, apparently meaning its religious leaders. But listen to this. "We, the Masons, shall be rulers over the masters of the world." So the rulers will be the secret power behind the religions and the governments of the world. It appears that the American people have been, quote, "coming to us," meaning the Masons, unquote, for over 200 years for its sovereigns. But the Masonic involvement in the history of this nation does not end here. There is more to be learned about their involvement in the founding of this nation. If you multiply the number 13 by itself, the result is 169. And if you subtract this number from the year of the founding of this nation, in other words, 1776, you will arrive at the number 1607, the date that the first settlers arrived in America. If you add the number 169 to 1776, you will get the year 1945, the year that Harry Truman, the President of the United States, dropped the 2 atomic bombs on Christians, Japanese Christians, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan to end World War II. If you count the number of days between July the 4th, 1945 and August the 6th, 1945, the day they dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan, you will discover they total 33 days. And in one more, quote, coincidence, end quote, if you add the number of the letters and numbers in August the 6th, 1945, you will find that they total 33. August is the 8th month, the number of the day is 6, and then you add the year as 1, 9, 4, and 5, and all of those numbers total 33.